everybody, and welcome to PlaidStallions Toy Ventures. I am Brian, your host, and I'm back. It's been a busy couple of weeks, what with the magazine closing and some other stuff going on, so I'm very happy to be doing a toy video once again, and I thought I would do something very special for this episode, and that is I am going to make this original Star Trek mix-and-mold Captain Kirk figure. Now, mix-and-mold sets were sold in the 1970s. There are a few licensed versions, and this is what inspired this episode, as I did pick up this really cool Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes recently, and my wife said, you know, it'd be cool to actually do that, and I'd paid a lot for this Dr. Zaius. This is the TV Dr. Zaius, not the movie. They made both. And I said to my wife, if I ever find one, you know, for under $20, I'll totally do it. And lo and behold, this Captain Kirk in a damaged box came up for $18. Had to have it so I could do this episode. Mix and Mold came out of a company called the Catalogue Shoppe, which is frustrating to try and research. It's just such a generic name. But they were out of West Hartford, Connecticut. And this is not their only Star Trek character. They also did Mr. Spock, who appears to be rocking a musical instrument so he can reach with the space hippies.
Yay, brother. Yeah.
And Dr. McCoy, who looks like he's just posing for a portrait photo. The 1970s saw a lot of licensed plaster kits like this, like Ideal's Shaker Maker, the amazing Rapco Universal Monster sets. There were a lot of iterations of this kind of theme running around in the 1970s. So I thought for this episode I would not only showcase what's inside, but actually try to make and paint one of these Captain Kirk figures. I'm a little worried about it, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. So let's get into this. So the first thing you're going to notice is there is like white powder everywhere. And yeah, these things leak like crazy. In fact, fun story. I once picked one of these up at a toy show. I think it was the Alan Verdon from the Planet of the Apes. And white powder fell out of it. And this guy, the dealer, was a really crabby dude. So I just put it down gently and kind of walked away because I was worried it was broken. It's just that the actual powder is in a paper cup. It just gets everywhere, and it looks like a scene from Scarface in here. So you're given the basic mold, enough plaster to make one figure, some cardboard teeth to help the molding process, and some paints and a paintbrush, and I'll get into those a little later. So the packaging asked me to remove about half of the plaster that was in the cup and mix the rest with water. Now, I don't know if I actually have enough to make a figure if so much of it is spilled out, but I did what it asked and created a nice little paste that I will pour into the front-facing mold. That's the first thing you're supposed to do. Those little cardboard teeth are supposed to, you know, help the structure, and it also suggested I put a paper clip in there, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to have to let that go. And once it's poured, I leave it to dry for 3 hours.
Three hours later.
So, disaster has struck, but I think it's fixable. In pulling this guy out of the mold, I broke him. The base broke. Guess I just wasn't ginger enough. Now, we have the technology. We're not done with the pour. So I'm going to try and fix this in round 2. So for round 2, I took the remaining plaster, poured it into the mold, and now I try to carefully put the broken front pieces together and hopefully pour enough plaster over the cracks that it kind of evens out. It becomes more solid again. And, you know, if I have to, I'll hit it with some putty after, but I'm just trying to fix this organically. And now we wait another 4 hours.
Approximately 10 hours later.
So, it's time to take a look at this. I have let this sit overnight. And let's see what we got. Front looks pretty good. However, the back is transporter accident bad. This is actually pretty rough. I think that the molds didn't align, giving Captain Kirk something of a peanut head. This has to be fixed in post, but fortunately, I have my good friend Epoxy Putty. That will delay the process a couple more hours, but then we can get on to paint.
One eternity later.
So as you can see here, I kind of treated this like an old garage kit and used some sandable epoxy to fill in the cracks, reshape his head, and, fill in any part in the bottom that isn't quite working. The whole thing was kind of a wobbly house of cards. Now it's on to the painting side of things, which, I don't think I'll use the paints that they've provided, as they kind of look like old condiment packages from my break room. I don't know if you have a work break room full of like unpopular condiments like malt vinegar, but I know where I can score a whole bunch of pre-pandemic malt vinegar. We also have a ton of plastic knives. But I digress. I'm going to use my own acrylic paints and store these paints in a safe metal container. Just wanted to give a quick update on Toy Ventures issue 11. It is going to press next week. We were a little late, but this issue needed just a little more time, and it's awesome. I cannot wait to share it with you. If you haven't pre-ordered it, it is available in our store along with all of our back issues. Thank you for looking as always. Cheers.
It's craptacular.
All right, first things first, if I was going to give myself a grade in this whole process, this would be a solid C+. It would not fall under the umbrella of my best work. It's mildly better than what I would have done as a kid, but I hope so. Now, to be fair, I do not think the original sculpt was very detailed. I tend to be a real dry brush painter, and there's nothing to dry brush here. It is a very smooth piece, and the likeness to William Shatner, just barely there. It's a vague caricature of Shatner, and also I gotta think that there's a handicap to using 50-year-old plaster, but maybe I'm wrong there. I am not a chemist. All in all, I had a lot of fun doing this and bringing it to you, and I hope you did as well. If you did like this, let me know in the comments below, because I have another Captain Kirk craft set, this one from the late 1970s. It's by South Bend, and it was for the motion picture. I picked this up for $10 at an antique mall this summer, and I would flirt with doing it. I still wouldn't use the paints, but if you guys dug this, let me know, and I bet you I can do a better job on the South Bend Captain Kirk. That's all the time I have for Toy Ventures this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back with 2 podcasts next week, as well as 2 different reviews. I've got a lot of stuff planned for October, and I'm sort of back in the swing of things.